Hello ladies, hello gentlemen, hello everybody. It's October 2022 and I'm here to present you some of artificial intelligence that can be related to filmmaking process. It's important that I'm mentioning the date because in November or in December the situation may look completely different than from what I'm saying right now. I want to present some AI tech, but it's not about fancy tech demos. It's much more about trying to catch the bigger picture of where we are with AI and where we are heading. Writing is the beginning of the process of filmmaking, so we also start from this. And what I've just told is from myself, but right now AI takes over.
So, here we are, in October 2022, and as you can see, AI wrote the rest of this presentation about itself. AI models capabilities of writing a script and accompanying text materials, synopsis, logline, promotional texts, dialogues. What is the source of this AI breakthrough? The invention of transformer models was a key moment. With this technology, we finally got AI models that could generate coherent text. GPT-2 and GPT-3 models by OpenAI are the most well-known transformer models. But there are other great models as well. For example, the Clip model by OpenAI can generate images from textual descriptions. This is a text-to-image revolution. But the transformer models are just a part of the story. The other part is the accessibility of AI models. Till recently, state-of-the-art AI models were available only to big tech companies and research institutions. But this is changing fast. Now, anyone with a decent GPU can train state-of-the-art models. And the accessibility of AI models is combined with the explosion of data. There are more and more data available to train AI models. For example, there are now hundreds of billions of public images available on the internet. All these factors are coming together to create a perfect storm. A tsunami of AI is coming and it will change everything. So, what does it mean for filmmaking? First of all, it means that AI can be used in every stage of filmmaking, from writing the script to post-production. Let's start with writing the script. AI can help to develop the project, to write the script and to generate the accompanying text materials, synopsis, logline, promotional texts, and dialogues. AI can also help to create mood boards, storyboards, and animatics. For example, you can use a text-to-image model to generate images from a textual description of the scene. First examples of text-to-video models are already available. For example, the text-to-video model by Google can generate a video from a textual description of the scene. First examples of text-to-3D models are also available.
Let's stop for now. What you've just seen is the GPT-3 model, large language model, made by OpenAI, continuing what I've just started. But of course I've cheated a bit, and the thing is that apart from the text that I started it with as a prompt, I also provided it with the agenda of this talk.
This is the agenda of the talk I was provided. After the introduction and presentation of my capabilities as a large language model, there will be two main parts. In the first part, Jacek will talk about the origins and sources of actual artificial intelligence breakthroughs, and he will try to convince you that the scale of the phenomena is mind-blowing. He will also say about the actual possible usage of large language models, like myself, in the process of film development. Finally, he will also talk about the most effective approach for cooperation with AI of any kind, for the time of this presentation. In the second part, he will focus on the practical employment of AI in the domain of image and sound, starting from image creation, through video, 3D, and virtual scenes, to sound generation and modification. In the end, Jacek will provide a few remarks on the actual limitations of cooperation with AI, and what we can expect in the future.
You can already use large language models to support the creation of all text required for filmmaking. But it's not that you will tell the subject of the script and the model will create it for you. But what you can do is to write the structure, what is going to happen after what. And with GPT-3, you can expect to develop all these points into pieces that you can connect later on. But it's the aid. It's not something that is done without your effort or without your work. And this is one way of approaching it. But you can have also another way. You can create shorter text, much more condensed text out of the long text. So you can feed the model with the script and expect it to summarize it, so you can get the synopsis, and expect it to summarize it even more to get some pieces of text that you can use for promotional purposes, or to summarize it even to create the logline of the film. And the summarization capabilities of these large language models are really high, and you can reverse the whole process and try to co-create with AI the structure, to co-create with AI the synopsis out of the structure, and to take each part of the synopsis and develop it further on into the script. But again, it is co-creation. It is not instead of you creating the script, but it really speeds up the process and it makes it much more effortless. The same applies to any other domain. No matter if we talk about the image, if we talk about the video, if we talk about the sound, if we talk about the post-production, it is all the time the back and forth process, the back and forth dialogue with AI model to create any required piece of image, piece of sound, piece of modified video or modified image that is required in the whole filmmaking process. Speaking about the sources of actual breakthrough, I would like to name 3 main events or 3 main phenomena that created the situation we are in right now. And the first and probably most important one are the discoveries in machine learning. Second thing I would like to mention is the open science and open software and open source software movement, because what happens with AI is that all the breakthroughs are published, and actually I'm not sure if I've ever witnessed artists, creators, academics and engineers looking at scientific papers to such an extent. All the breakthroughs are published, are open, people can learn from it. There is a number of channels that explain what is in these papers and how to understand it and how it opens new possibilities and ways for further development. Related to that phenomena is open source software. And there is a huge movement in AI community into replicating models that are invented also in corporations, and they successfully replicate these models as open source, so it allows really regular people to tinker with these models and provide next small iterations and small upgrades in a pace that was, I don't think that I've seen anything like this before in any other field. This is a second force that plays very important role in that breakthrough and in that speed, in that explosion of AI we are witnessing right now. And the third one, and this one is actually pointed out by GPT-3, is the abundance of data. And for 20 years, over 20 years, we've been collecting huge amount of images, texts, videos, sounds, samples that were mainly used to profile us. So they were very beneficial for, again, big corporations that can monetize on them. But suddenly it showed up that once we have these large models, they require huge amounts of data to be learned from. And once they are learning from it, there are emergent properties of these AI models that show up once they are trained on these huge amounts of data. So suddenly all this data that was once used only for the purposes of manipulation of people can be and is used to train models, so they are unlocking new possibilities of creativity. And having access to these huge amounts of data is another factor that plays very important role in creating these breakthroughs in AI and this explosion of AI we are witnessing right now. To give you the hint of the scale of the phenomena, I created this chart just to show how it developed in the last decade. I started from 2009 because that was the first image-related model that showed that creation of images by AI is possible and it might be interesting. So ImageNet was created in 2009, and from 2009 to 2019 you can see that we had like one, sometimes two models in the image domain and in the text domain, new models that appeared in any particular year. So it goes like that to 2014, and in 2014 we have the GAN architecture that was invented, General Adversarial Networks. It was a jump in the quality of images that could be produced, new architecture, new approach that proved even more that the possibility of creating images through AI, it's a big promise. In 2017, another major step has been done. Transformer architecture has been invented, and I marked it here because this dark text is related to image, the white text is related to text models development, but transformer architecture is both. Actually, it allowed for further rapid development of models in both image domain and text domain. So it was 2017, and in 2020 yet another breakthrough happens, which is GPT-3. And it is very, very important breakthrough because it's not only that we have the new AI model that is capable of the understanding of language and understanding of meaning, but it is mainly important because it shows that once we feed the AI model with this architecture, with transformer architecture, with huge amount of data, it is not only better at tasks that it was trained for, but there are new, completely emergent properties that appear in this model. And the same applies not only to large language models, the same applies to image-related models, to sound-related models, that they understand the matter of language, of image, of sound much better, and they are capable of new tasks that we didn't even think they might be capable of. So you have these breakthroughs here, but also important on this graph is number of models per year, number of new models per year that is created. And as you can see, till 2020, before this GPT-3 breakthrough, we had like one model from each domain, like text domain or image domain, created per year, one, sometimes two, if we were lucky. And suddenly, in 2021, we have 24 new text-related models and 17 new image-related models. Image-related models stem from the GAN architecture, stem from CLIP architecture, and stem from diffusion models that we were able to invent, and that made, again, the creation of images, the quality of images, and the translation between language and image much better, much more direct, much more efficient than it was before. finally, we have July 2022, we have Stable Diffusion entering the stage. And this is the same that happened with open source text models that can be used for various purposes. Right now, with Stable Diffusion made by Stability AI and Runway ML, in cooperation with the number of companies that are operating in the field of open source software. All researchers or users, actually artists, have access to these models and now can fine-tune it, can tinker with it, can change it. We have over 1,000 of applications of Stable Diffusion. To name the few, we have Stable Diffusion that is cooperating with Blender now, with Photoshop, with Premiere, with Unreal Engine. And all that is made by community and people who are making it open for others. So other people also know how it's done and can improve on that and create next level and next stage of the development. So through these incremental small changes made by community, it really is a rapid development. So this all leads to really an explosion and a tsunami of AI. And if you look at numbers, it's for 10 years it was 1 or 2 models per year, no matter if it's in a text domain or if it's an image domain. And suddenly in 2021 you have 24 new text models, you have 17 new image related models, and in 2022 you have 38 new text models with the capabilities very often bigger than the capabilities of GPT-3. And you have 40, let's say, new models that are image related, but I put it in red because actually if you would count only really radically new models, it would be probably something like 20. But if you consider all the changes that are like big changes in the existing models, it will be probably about 40, 45. But again, if you would consider all the minor changes made in these models, these are hundreds. The first and the most straightforward one is creating of mood boards. Here you have the example of the mood board we have created for Conversations. Conversations is the VR project that we are doing right now, which is co-created with AIs on every level, on the level of text, of image, of sound, of 3D space. Every aspect of this experience, of this VR experience, is co-created with AI. And these are mood boards that I've created with DALL-E, with Midjourney, and with Stable Diffusion. And of course, for mood boards, it is very fast, very effective, a really great tool or great partner in creating that kind of imagery. But then we can step into the storyboard field and it starts to be a bit more complicated. Here you have the examples of graphic novels and comic books co-created with AIs, and as they are really impressive, I believe, still if you try to apply this kind of technique to create a storyboard, it's not that easy. And we get back to the issue of controllability. If you want to create a storyboard, you need the consistency in the subject and in the style, from frame to frame you want to show. And this consistency is pretty hard to achieve right now. The creative aspect of AI takes the lead once you want to create images. So it's pretty hard right now to get both the style and the subject consistent from image to image. But it's probably a matter of a few weeks to create a tool on that basis that would produce consistent, valid storyboards that you require for filmmaking process. Same goes for animatics. What you can see here is Salt. It is considered to be the first AI film, but in my opinion, it is much more a proper animatic. All these tools are there. So again, it's a matter of making a pipeline that sets properly tuned elements or different models in different stages and streamlines the process of creating the animatic, probably even from storyboard, so it could be achieved. And I believe that someone would do this because it's pretty easily imaginable right now, and it doesn't seem that there is any technical obstacle on the way. So I believe you can expect that kind of a tool to create both storyboard and animatics in a matter of weeks or months. Now we can switch to text-to-video models, and this is also very interesting. What you can see here are first models that make video out of the description. And of course, right now it's very glitchy, right now it's not so much coherent, but if you see what is the pace of the development in text-to-image models or image-to-image models, you can expect that in less than a year, the outputs of that kind of models will be comparable to the outputs that are recorded with camera. October 2022. Let's meet in a year and let's see where we are with this.
Hi. This part was not initially intended to be in this presentation, but this is a pretty good example of state-of-the-art text-to-video possibilities and voice synthesis possibilities at once. This is Synthesia, the service that allows you to create a video out of written text, and the guy you are looking at is a text-driven video avatar. But it is not a 3D avatar you may be familiar with from game development solutions. It is a photographed person, and all movements of this image are based on image manipulation. You can similarly manipulate any other image at home using EB Synth or Plate Spline Motion Model. Also, the spoken text is taken for this presentation as is. I, Jacek, the guy you do not see now, but whom you see for the rest of this talk, just wrote the text and rendered it in the service. What you hear is a rough output. Actually, this presentation could be probably more interesting if the guy you are looking at would do it, but I have only 10 minutes of credits per month, so you have to spend the rest of this talk with the original me. By the way, once we are on the subject of text-to-video, it is worth mentioning that it already develops into an independent form of audiovisual art, a new kind of animation. What you see here is the piece by Alan Haddock and Agnieszka Wójcik I found on YouTube a few days ago. This kind of animation became possible about a year ago with disco diffusion models, but only abstract works could be done this way. Tesla shows that narrativity becomes possible in animations that are based solely on text prompts.
have image, we have video, but we also have 3D models created out of it. You have text to 3D models already there, and here are examples of that. And you can see what it is capable of right now. It is based on the same breakthroughs that allowed us to create images. But I would expect that in a matter of a year or 2 years, the quality of these 3D models will be much higher, so they will be straightforward, usable in virtual production, in game development, straightforward, usable in the video. All these models are accessible, the same as NeRFs. And NeRFs is yet another approach and yet another architecture that is similar to the pipeline of photogrammetry. But as if with photogrammetry, you need hundreds or thousands of images to create proper 3D representation of a scene. Then with NeRFs, you need a few or a dozen or let's say several dozens in the most challenging circumstances to create a really proper actual 3D model of a scene that can be again used in virtual production or in virtual reality. So you have these architectures and these models already accessible for the public, already possible to fine-tune, to change, to modify, and these are the results that are possible right now. Another example I would like to show is the workflow that we had in Conversations. Conversations, as I said, is this VR experience created with AI models on every different level. What we are using here is that we are taking images. We created the animation going through a film frame interpolation model that allows us to create frames of the video between two completely different images. So it morphs one image into another one. This way created video we put through another 3D model that's calculated depth maps for each frame, and it makes it consistent. And once we put together the depth map and the image in Blender further on, so we already have a 3D model in motion. And this 3D model in motion was then applied in Unreal Engine.
I would like to ask you the first crucial question.
Another example, we took images, we processed it through another AI that created depth map on the basis of single image, and together with the depth map it created the camera movement inside the image. We took frames of the video of this camera movement and processed it through photogrammetry software. This way we created again fully valid 3D model of the environment, and this model of the 3D environment was then processed again already in Unreal Engine. So we have that kind of dynamic point cloud that can be changed and moved, and you can interact with it and so on and so on. These are just examples of pipelines. Spent 3 or 4 months developing this pipeline, checking and fine-tuning, and probably we would make it in a week or 2 with these new tools that are there, because the pace of the development is so high. And this is actually the example of what is possible right now. This is the experiment from 2 weeks ago, where the author used Stable Diffusion and Touch Designer together. So Stable Diffusion creates this environment in Touch Designer, and it is changed in real time and modified in real time with Stable Diffusion, so it morphs all the time. And this kind of approach is already being applied also to Unreal Engine, so you have dynamic, real-time modification of virtual reality environment thanks to Stable Diffusion, thanks to image creation models, blended with another AI that creates depth maps of it, so it's a three-dimensional space. Now we can step into the area of sound. So here are examples of voiceover narration that is possible to be created with actual state-of-the-art models. And what you can do with this is not only to provide it text and expect it to create a voiceover out of it.
But you can modify it in many different ways. So you have control not only over the pace, over the pitch of the voice, but you can modify it in many different ways. So you have control not only over the pace, over the pitch of the voice, but also you have the control over the breaths that are taken. But you can modify it in many different ways. So you have control not only over the pace, over the pitch of the voice, but also you have the control over the breaths that are taken, pauses, and most importantly over accentuation of each part of the sentence. And most importantly over accentuation of each part of the sentence.
There are new models like AudioML by Google that combine these capabilities of GPT-3 with the capabilities of voice models. So actually you start talking and it continues that talk with all the attributes of the voice and of the meaning of what you started to talk about.
This transit, spring, and lighting up are beautiful, a glamour beguiling our senses. This transit, spring, and lighting up our dreams by its brilliancy and beauty, a power which, if we shut our eyes to it, will not shut. This transit, spring, and lighting up our bright hopes and sagacious fears, and bitter and severe will be the cross which now we bear.
Some images, like some sensations, feel very familiar, while others feel strange. Some images, like some sensations, which are not represented in perspective and sensible objects, but are only derived from causes. Some images, like some sensations, are found in the perception of the eye, but the latter are not felt in the perception of the.
The same can be applied not only to the voice, but also to the music. Music composition tools with AI are developed much more than that. And here I would like to show two services that allow you for music creation and sound design creation. And they are really approachable and accessible for everyone. This is Amper. Meta just recently created a model that allows you to create the sound field on the basis of the text. Here are the examples.
That's right. Sorry. No.
What I have shown you here is just the tip of an iceberg. These are mostly the latest models and the latest tools available, but at the same time it's just a bit of what is available already in the market, and you can expect that these film supporting and production supporting tools will be revealed in a matter of weeks, in a matter of months, and will speed up and make it much more cost efficient to create the audio visual work. Witnessing this, I thought that this is kind of my obligation to tell about it, my fellows filmmakers and VR makers and so on, because I do believe that whoever will not adjust to it and will not be aware of what is happening may be caught off guard in a few months or few years time once all these tools become mainstream, because everyone who knows these tools has definitely the competitive advantage over those who do not have access or do not know, are not aware that they can speed up their process and make it much more cost efficient and time efficient and effort efficient to do. Once you try to approach it in a way that you are using it as a tool, it's probably much more frustrating process than if you would try to treat it as your partner in creation and be open to what it provides and follow this dialogue and what reveals from this interaction with AI model. But I also have to admit that we have newer and newer tools and newer approaches that create the possibility of controlling the output from the AI model to be closer and closer to our needs. So I'm not sure which direction it will develop faster. It's hard for me to think about it. But for now, I find it much more valuable and effective to approach it as a co-creation partner. And I also find it much more interesting and satisfying. But also regarding the creative capabilities of that, at the moment it is much more useful for kind of prototyping and the interaction that gives you inspiration for different stages of creation of the project than to creating the final output. But still, it is October 2022. And I'm saying that only for this particular moment in time. In 2 months, these notions could be completely different. I would like to thank several people that are really generous of sharing their knowledge about actual AI. And I really encourage you to follow these channels. Some of them are there to just have a brief look of what's happening. Some of them are very in-depth tutorials, how to use stuff and how to install stuff and what is possible and so on and so on. And also, if you are planning to take advantage of what is happening in the AI field, I would strongly recommend to participate in these AI communities, no matter if it's a Midjourney community, if it's a Stable Diffusion community, or several others that are there, where people are really generously sharing knowledge, sharing access to tools, and exchange of knowledge that is happening there it's unbelievable. So if something out of this presentation interested you, just start doing it, enter the community, and yeah, good luck with that. Thank you.